Okay, so let's look at time operation and tide operations. So we are going to focus on time operation first, and the two time operations in the game of Boocheerie um, in the bounce variation gameplay is back bouncing bounce, or simply put bounce play, and back grounding ground, or ground play. Okay, so we are going to recreate a bounce play here first before we now talk what a ground play is. Okay, remember that the game of Boocheerie is trying to tell the story of an entertainer moving from one city to another, trying to be a legend, and the goal of the game is for you to make him or her the legend that they want to become. So what the player has to do is make time operations and gain cards to their grip deck, and that is what bounce play and ground play is all about, helping a player to gain cards to his or her grip deck. Okay, so let's try and recreate it. So we are going to assume that is this or other opponent instance to make a play. So, and let's say the player picks a card, and let's say I have already made a play before, and I issued a command by not placing a card on my Boocheerie deck. So you have to refer back to the video on navigation to understand what the Boocheerie deck does. So knowing that not placing the card means that I'm telling the opponent not to play on the middle show deck, which is the creator show deck. Instead, the player should make a play on either the believer show deck or the dreamer show deck. So let's say this is the card of this opponent. So what card can the player possibly make a play here or here? So cards of the same city name or performance value can be played on others. That means I can actually play this card, which is A1 chair 3. I can play A1 chair 3 on this particular side since it is of the same city name, city A and city A. So I just make a play here on behalf of this opponent. So then the next thing I have to do is to react. So after making a play, I have to react on his or her Boocheerie deck. So to do this, let's say I place a bull card. So let's say I place a bull card. So placing a bull card, I'm saying don't make a play on the believer show deck, which is the one at the extreme here. So the extreme left. So then I keep. So yes, the player has made a play. The next thing is for the player to pick a card from the stage deck and refill. So these are the rules in navigation. If make a play, pick a card and refill. Then it's now my own instance to make a play. So placing a bull card means this opponent is restricting me from making a play here. So this deck automatically becomes the new I do show deck. So I'm now to make a play either here or here, which are the two new active show decks. So since these are the two new active show decks, I have to look at my hand and know the cards I have to play. So let's say I decide to, because what we are trying to create here is a bounce play. So let's say I just make a play here. So automatically making a play here, since it has the same performance value 6 when compared to this other card here. So the moment I make a play here, I have made a bounce play. So bounce play by definition is when a player makes a play on either of the two active show deck using one card, two card, or three cards that has cards that have the same city name, different reaction, and either of the two cards should have either the same city name, reaction, performance value, or a performance value that is exactly twice greater or lesser than the card prevailing on the idle show deck. So what that simply means is that the first thing I have to do when trying to make a bounce play is that the two active show deck must have the same city name. So in this case, this is city D and city D. The next thing is that they must have different reaction. In this case, this is reaction love and this is reaction cheer. You can see the symbol of love here. You can see the symbol of cheer here. So since they have different reaction, love and cheer, the next thing, same city, that means they have fulfilled half of the condition. The next thing is to compare them with the prevailing idle show deck. So they should have either the same city name as the idle show deck, one of them should have either the same city name with the idle show deck, or one of them should have either the same reaction as the idle show deck, or one of them should have either the same performance value as the idle show deck, or one of them should have either a performance value that is exactly twice greater or lesser than the prevailing idle show deck. So what that means is that the same city name, this is a different city name, so that one is ruled out. Then the next one is same reaction. This is same reaction, chair, so it has fulfilled the second condition. So which means I have successfully made a bounce play. So making a bounce play comes with an advantage. Remember that I made a play here, so I have to pick a card and first refill my depleted city deck since I made a successful navigation. So then the next thing is, after making a successful bounce play, I'm going to gain 3 cards to my grip deck. Remember, the grip deck is here, so I pick 3 cards to my grip deck. So the next benefit is that I'm going to gain 2 cards to my home deck. The number of cards in the home deck should not exceed 4. So you see, it is already 5, so the maximum is 4. When it is 4, you stop accumulating card there. You understand? So okay, so I've gained 3 cards to my grid deck, 2 cards to my home deck. So so for making a successful bounce play. So the next thing is that the depreciation deck is going to gain 1 card. Remember, the depreciation deck is here. Okay, so so since I've made a successful bounce play, the next thing I'm going to react placing a bull card or a chair card here, so that the next opponent is going to make a play. So let's say I place a chair card here, then I pick. Okay, yeah, I don't need to pick because I am just reacting. So this player picks up back, and he or she tries to play. So me placing a chair card here means automatically I am making this particular show deck, which is the dreamer show deck, the idle show deck. Okay, so that is that. As also, you try to always reference the rule book. So the rule book has all these details. So when you come here, you see, you flip to the time bouncing gameplay. So when you go to the time bouncing gameplay, you see all the time operation and tide operations. So you see bouncing bounce. Then you also come across the backgrounding ground, which are the 2 things we are looking at now. So there's also a pictorial representation of it somewhere here. Okay, so pictorial representation is not in this particular edition of the rulebook though, so, but it will be in subsequent one. Okay, so that is that. Okay, so the next we are going to look at is backgrounding ground, or simply put, ground play. Okay, if you've understood bounce play, understanding ground play is very simple. So just like in this particular case, we have made a bounce play. A ground play is just simply when a bounce play has been made on the show deck and a player is able to make a play on the idle show deck. That advantage player is also able to make a play on the idle show deck using an international dual legend card or a national legend card. In this case, I was able to make let's assume in this case, as we can see in this case, let's say I made a bounce play here. So the next thing is I'm going to now make a play on this idle show deck. Remember that this was the 2 active show deck that I made a bounce play. Now I will see the possibility of making a bounce play here using 1 or 2 cards, layering 1 or 2 cards here, such that the prevailing idle show deck should become an international legend card or a national legend card. So what it means is that since this is city A, I can play this particular card there since it is also city A. So playing this card, which is a national legend card, in this case is Idagbo. So I can just make this play here. So automatically, the moment I make this play here, which is I've made a bounce play here, and I'm able to still play on the idle show deck using an international legend card or a national legend card, then I've made a ground play. So a ground play comes with extra benefit, which means let's assume that I didn't make a bounce play, that it is a ground play that I went and made straight ahead. So what it means is that I'm going to gain 5 cards to my grid deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so that is what it means. I'm going to gain 5 cards to my grid deck and 2 cards to my home deck. So since let's say I gain 2 cards, 1, 2, but remember that it shouldn't exceed 4 here. So since this is 6, I have to take away 2, so and keep the rest here. So it just has to be 4. Okay, so this then the precision deck is going to gain 1 card. So a ground play is just a bounce play, and the advantage opponent being able to make a play on the prevailing idle show deck using an international legend card or a national legend card. You can see it's not all cases that I may be able to just have 1 card that would automatically play here. So what I have to do in essence is that I may be able to play 2 cards so that I can play 1 first before I can finally play this on it. That is just called layering. I have to play 1 card here first before I play another one. Or if I just have the a card that can navigate here correctly, then I can just simply just navigate just as I did here. That is that about bounce play and ground play. So if you've learned this kind of operation, you can start the gameplay proper. So once you master the gameplay, you now move to tide operation, and the 2 tide operation in the game is breakdown and showdown. We'll look at breakdown and showdown much later. For now, let's focus on time operations. Okay, so that's that for the day. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, okay, and another important thing to note is that it's not always once a player wants to make a bounce play, a player can layer cards. Layering card just simply means that there are occasions that I may not be able to just make a straight play like this. So I may just come and start playing card. I play this one first and see if it will connect to city D. I now play another one again to see if it will connect. But the maximum I can layer is 2 before I try to connect. So if I can't connect it like this, I can't play. So that is just called layering. So sometimes you try to layer. So but in this case, I just have what I can play and I play. So the maximum you can layer is 3 cards. You just keep playing cards, 1 card, 2 card, or 3 card, and that is that. Okay, so yeah. Okay, let's look at tide operation. So the 2 tide operation we are going to focus on is showdown and breakdown. So although there is call out, which is another tide operation, so but we are limiting our knowledge right now to showdown and breakdown. So we'll start by learning what a showdown is. So already we have arranged the game in a way that we are going to depict a scenario where a showdown had occurred on the operation deck. Okay, so right now we are assuming that I had made a play, then this other opponent here has made a play, and this player here is the starting second player since I'm acting as the starting first player. So since this player had made a play and reacted with a bull card, so what it means is that he or she is preventing me from making a play on this dreamer show deck, which is the show deck close to the stage deck here. So since that is the reaction that he or she had made, so I'm picking the card from my city deck, and it's not my own instance to make a play. So so because we are trying to make a show deck here, so I'm going to play in a way that I'm going to make a show deck. So I mean a showdown. So since I'm trying to make a showdown, I'm going to play in a way that I'm going to create a showdown on the operation deck. Okay, so but before doing that, I have to define what a showdown is. So By definition, a showdown is when a player makes a play on the two idle show deck using 2 cards, 3 cards, or 4 cards from his or her city deck. So the play is going to be done in such a way that the two active show decks now constitute cards of different city name, different reaction, while having different international dual legend cards. So, and when compared to the idle show deck, either of the showdown cards should have either the same reaction, or the same performance value, or a performance value that is exactly twice greater or lesser than the idle show deck. Okay, so remember, the idle show deck is the show deck we are not permitted to make a play here. For instance, this dreamer show deck becomes our idle show deck. Okay, so and the player is not required to go ahead and react on the Boocheerie deck, issuing the same command like the previous player or the previous opponent has issued. So in this case, since these previous players had issued a bull card, I should also react with a bull card. If the previous player had placed a chair card, I should also react with a chair card. If the previous player had not placed any card on his or Boocheerie deck, or reacting by not placing any card, I should do the same thing. So that is the final condition of a showdown. So now let's recreate it and explain it better. So right now it's my own instance to play. So since these are the two active show decks, since I'm being prevented to make a play here, since this particular deck is serving as the idle show deck, so what I will now do is to look for a card that I can play here. Remember, it's cards of the same city name or performance value that can be played on another in a particular chain city. But if it is a compound city, I can make a play with either the same city name, performance value, or reaction. So, and we know that one of the or the basic compound city in the game of Boocheerie is city C. So okay, so right now let me try to make a play. So I'll look for a card I can possibly play, and the goal I'm trying to do, since already, if you look here, if you look here, you see this is this particular deck here is what is it called, an international dual legend card. Okay, so why not, let's say the player reacted with a chair card. So let's give this a chair card instead of a bull card. Okay, yeah, let's just leave it at a bull card. So 2, 3, 4. Okay, so leaving it at a bull card, sorry, a bull card is preventing me from reacting on the believer show deck. Sorry, it is a chair card that prevents me from making a play here. So these are the two active show deck. So I'm to make a play on this either of these two. So let's say I take a card and I take this particular card and play, since they have the same performance value, that is performance value 2 and performance value 2. So I make a play since they have the same performance value 2 and performance value 2. So I make a play here. So I'm not expected to refill yet, so I have to conclude. So I have to react. I have to react with the same bull the previous player had made. So then I react with a bull. So what I did is that I've made a play such that these two active show deck has different city name, as you can see, city N and city P. So they also have different reaction. This one has a reaction of chair, as you can see. It has a reaction of chair. You can see the symbol of chair also. So, and this other one has a reaction of run. So they have different reaction, different city name, different reaction, city N, city P, different reaction, chair and run. So so having those two, that is one of the conditions. Then they should have different international Bro Legend card. So in this case, this one has Amuzo, which you can see the artwork here is different from this particular artwork or legend card, which in this case is Toby. So as we can see, so it's the artwork that is the most important thing. So they have to be different. Okay, since since we have achieved this show play here, the next thing is to react, and we have reacted here. Okay, so basically this is what a showdown looks like. So whenever a player makes a successful showdown, he or she is going to put other opponents at a disadvantaged situation. So so in a minute now we'll talk about the advantages that come to the player that made a showdown. So so one of the advantages of making a showdown is that the advantage opponent is going to gain 2 cards from the stage deck to his or her home deck. So another advantage is that they are going to gain 2 cards to their grip deck from the stage deck. So then another thing it does is that since I made a successful reaction here, this is called a reversal Boocheerie reaction. So what it does is that it makes these 2 active show deck inactive for the opponent to make a play. So this opponent will not be able to make a play until he reaches my own instance of play 2 times. So I must make a play 2 times. So the game has to rotate anti-clockwise 2 times to enable me make a play like 2 times before they will now be able to make a play on the active show deck. So the only deck they are show deck they are permitted to make a play on is the idle show deck. So they are only required to be making a play on the idle show deck, and at the same time they won't be reacting. So they won't just be reacting. Their only their only required thing is for them to be making a play on the idle show deck. So then I have to make a play 2 times. So let's try and advance the play. So I have to pick and refill. So I have to refill the card I have played. So yeah, okay. So after refilling now, the next thing is for this other opponent to make a play. So he or she picks up, then progresses with a play. So so let's try to recreate that now. Okay, so before this other opponent goes ahead to make a play, let's remember that the third condition of one of the other condition of a showdown that was fulfilled was that these 2 active show deck, either of them should have either the same reaction performance value when compared, or a performance value that is exactly twice greater or lower when compared to this idle show deck. So you can see the performance value here is 2. So given that the performance value in this other one is 2, also here the performance value is 2, which means both of them have this performance value 2, and the performance value here is 1, and the number 1 is exactly twice lesser than this, or why this number 2 is exactly twice greater than this. So it has fulfilled that condition. But there could be there are occasions where it's the performance value here may be 9, which just like something like this now, and it will not hold true. So because the performance value 9 is not exactly twice lesser or greater than this, neither is it the same thing with that. So the next one is they should also have same react. They can also possibly have same reaction. In this case, this is chair and there is also chair. So either of this condition, either same reaction, same performance value, or a performance value that is exactly twice greater or lesser. So if such condition is met when compared, when the active show deck showdown cards are compared to the idle show deck. So when they show down cards on the active show decks is compared with the idle show deck. So that is one condition that was also met. So it's now the instance of this other player to make a play. So and let's say I didn't react. So me not reacting on my Boocheerie deck means I'm preventing the person from making a play on this creator show deck. So remember, this is the believer show deck, the creator show deck, and this is the dreamer show deck. Okay, so preventing the person from making a play here. So let's say the person this person tries to now make a play here. Okay, using same city name. So with same city name, I'm able to navigate here. So then let's say I decide to make a reaction. So let's say I react with a chair in this case. Okay, so then I pick and refill. Okay, so I pick and refill. So now it's not the instance of this other player to make a play. So the game keeps going on. So the next thing we are going to look at is we are going to look at a breakdown. So if you've understood what a showdown is, understanding a breakdown is much easier. So we are going to recreate a scenario where a breakdown has happened on the show deck. So then we'll now go ahead and recreate it and explain what a breakdown is. So because that is the next tide operation we are going to look at. Yeah. Okay, we may not have to recreate. We can progress. So since it's my own instance to make a play, I will proceed by making a play. Since here becomes the idle show deck, and these are the two active show deck, I can simply just make a play here. So making a play here, since I'm using the same performance value to make a play, since they both have the same performance value 2 and performance value 2. So I can now make a play here. So I can decide to use one card or decide to use two cards and play here. But before I proceed with making a breakdown, so let me define what a breakdown is. So by definition, a breakdown is when a player makes a play on the two active show deck such that or using 2 cards, 3 cards, or 4 cards from his or her city deck, such that the two active show deck constitute cards of different city name, different reaction, and different national legend card. And at the same time, when compared to the idle show deck, they should have either the same reaction, the same performance value, or a performance value that is exactly twice greater or lesser than the prevailing idle show deck. Okay, so what that means is that once I make a play here, I can make a play on just making one play here. I can place 2 cards simultaneously. So that is the advantage of a showdown or a breakdown. You can just make a play, or you play on the two active show decks simultaneously. So let me make a play using this card. So the moment I make a play using this card, you see now that the two active show decks now have you now see now that the two active show decks now have 2 national legend cards. So you can see from the artwork, this one here has Ugadu. So you can see this particular active show deck has Ugadu here. You see the artwork here. So while this other one now has Idagbo. So you can see this particular artwork is different. So these are 2 different national legends. Okay, so remember, the national legend is the one that has a single face artwork. Okay, so then they have different national legend. The next thing is that they have different city name. This is city A and this one is city U. So they also have different reaction. This one is run and this one is boo. So then when we compare it with the active show idle show deck, So we'll see that in the I2 show deck we have reaction run. So one of these cards should have the same reaction like this. So we see, okay, here it has, this particular card has the one in the believer show deck here has same reaction, run. But if they don't have the same reaction, we have to check, do they have the same performance value? So this one has performance value 9, so it doesn't work. So we'll now check this other one. This one has performance value 2, which is the same thing as this other card performance value. So it fulfills that condition. So what it means is that a breakdown has been made successfully. Okay, so once a player makes a successful breakdown, just as I just did right now, he or she is going to put all other opponents at a disadvantage condition. So what it means is that other opponents will have to debase 2 cards from their city deck underneath the show decks. So this particular player, in this case, will just take these cards from his or her city deck and debase any 2 of them. So you take, but the 2 cards that this player should debase should have the same reaction as the idle show deck. Remember that the player placed a blue card, so a chair card. Okay, so this is the idle show deck, which is this dreamer show deck. So and the reaction here is run. So the player has to look for 2 cards that have that reaction run. In this case, it's only 1 card that has the reaction run in it. So the player has to now debase this particular card that has the reaction run. So after successfully debasing the card that has run, the next thing is he or she was required to debase 2, but only 1 card had run. Even when he or she picks up this one, it is chair and not run. So what it means is that since he or she successfully debased one that has run, they'll pick a card here and refill. But before refilling, they have to debase another one without refilling this. So since they were able to provide 1 card that has that, they will refill. Do you understand? But if they fail to provide any card, they'll debase the 2 cards without refilling. Okay, so these compensation cards should be refilled, but once a player can't match the same reaction as the idle show deck, they don't have the grace of refilling. Okay, so that is what happens. All opponents are going to provide 2 cards that have the same reaction. So for every card they fail to provide that have the same reaction as the idle show deck, they are going to debase that card. So then another advantage of making a breakdown, is that once a player successfully make a breakdown, he or she is going to gain 2 cards to his or her home deck. Remember, the maximum number of cards to be gained to the home deck is 4. Since this is 4 already, I don't have to add more. Okay, then beside that, the player is going to gain 2 cards to his or her relapse deck. Remember, we haven't talked about the relapse deck for a long while. So in a minute, let's explain what the relapse deck does again. So the relapse deck is used to wager a draw, and the maximum number of cards to be gained here is 4 cards. So once 4 cards have been gained to this relapse deck, the game doesn't come to an end. Do you understand? Instead, whenever the game comes to an end, a player will pick up any card they had accumulated to their relapse deck. So sum the 3 values or the 3 lab values. So in this case, 3 plus 5 is 8. So what it means is that this other opponent, opponent is going to gain some other cards to his or her. So what it means is that for this other opponent to win me, he or she is going to accumulate a 3 lab value that is exactly 2.5 times, or at least 2.5 times greater than the cards I have accumulated to my relapse deck. So 2.5 of 8 is 20. So what it means that this 13-second player is going to gain a total of 3 lab values, of 20 for him or she to win me. Otherwise, the game ends as a draw. So let's assume that this player had accumulated some cards to his or her grip deck beforehand, and now he or she sums the trailer value. So we see it's 5 plus 5 plus 7, which is giving us 17, and 17 is less than 12. So being less than 12, what it means is that the game, the starting second opponent hasn't won me. So, and let's assume that this, even if we take away one card, we'll see that he has 10, which means he's still less than 20. So that is that. What the relapse deck just does is to help to wager a draw. So it prevents a player by winning. For a player to win, they have to accumulate more cards to their grip deck that will be at least 2.5 times greater than this. So it can be exactly 2.5 times, or it can be greater, but it can be lesser for them to win. Otherwise, the game comes to an end. Okay, so after I finish making the breakdown successfully, I pick a card and I refill. So refilling is not permitted until you have successfully made a breakdown. And remember that you have the option of layering cards. Layering card means, let's say I want to recreate this thing, I can come and make a play here. Let's say as this card is, I can make a play here first. So after making a play here first using this card, I can now make another play here. So I've layered a card, I've played a card before making a play again. That's what layering is. So you can just make a card, play a card, but the total maximum number of cards you can play is either 2, 3, or 4. So you can layer cards on the active show deck, either 2 cards, 3 cards, or 4 cards. Total, that's what you are going to play. So that is that about breakdown. Okay, so the layering of cards on the 2 active show deck doesn't just apply only on showdown. It also applies on, doesn't apply only on breakdown. It also applies on showdown. So a player can just keep layering cards on another until they successfully make a showdown or a breakdown. So, but if they are not making a showdown or a breakdown, they are not permitted to layer cards on another. And this the number of cards can be 2 cards, 3 cards, or 4 cards, either on one of the active show deck or both of the active show decks. So okay, thanks. We always recommend you reference the rule book, because the rule book contains every updated rules, and it is the penultimate guide. So when you come here, you see tide operation, you see showdown, you see breakdown, and it goes on and on. So there should be some pictorial representation in some other edition of the rule book. Yeah, that is that. Thanks.